just top of the hour news, urgent breaking news that President Trump has just recently announced a 90-day U-turn, actually momentary pause on the tariff war that is imposed on the countries. And I just want to give you my take on the significance of this and just look at it. Look at the markets. Starting off with Bitcoin, you can see just as a result of a matter of a few minutes where he's made that U-turn announcement, you can see Bitcoin has recovered up 7%. So just almost $5,500 increase. This is absolutely a shock, really. I can't really frame it as if it's positive. It's not. It's far from it. It's a shock to the system. Now, if I look into the other three indices, you can see the Nasdaq 100 similarly have just jumped 8.5%. You've got the S&P 500, it's just shot up almost 7% just as a result of that announcement. And before I give my take on this, because it's very, very pivotal and to the point that I've been attempted to explain in some of my episodes earlier on this week, why these type of shenanigans, why this type of awful policy decisions from any politician, why we need to take upon ourselves to protect our wealth, our assets, our hard-earned savings, rather than just relying on the nation states who are really in it for their own gain and personal vendetta. And any other type of politicians out there, they're no different, right? They're not better than us. In fact, it's the opposite. The true sovereignty relies on the individual, not on the politician or any government or any central banking authority on earth. That's it. That's just period. So this is the significance of this. This comes to show that we shouldn't take any policy decision at face value, no matter how desperate any one economy may find itself in. No, we should be resistant, highly skeptical. Now, the repercussions of this Trump tariff war has so many connotations out there that I want to just debrief and decouple that for you. But before I do that, I'm just going to show you a couple of minute clip from Sky News where they've actually attempted to explain what could be the reason behind this 90-day pause of the Trump tariff.
And with China, it is a real fight between those two countries now, the biggest two economies in the world. But the 90-day pause that a lot of people were suggesting, Donald Trump, it seems, has backed down on that.
Yeah, back down would be one interpretation, Mark. I suppose what he is looking for is some degree of coherence in the strategy moving forward. And looking at these markets, as you've just been describing, perhaps they are taking heart from that. A degree of certainty, signs of a strategy that they can trust moving forward. Amidst all the uncertainty and the whiplash from Donald Trump, the changes on a daily basis, now we have a situation where he's announced this pause. That gives the United States the opportunity to corral its allies around its particular plan. Up until now, we've had a situation where Donald Trump had everybody in his sights. There were no allies in this tariff fight. So as things have grown towards this standoff between the United States and China, other countries have been making their own assessments in self-interest as to who was going to win that particular contest in the long term and where their interests lay in the long term. Bearing in mind that China was exercising its muscle and also beginning to look like the more benign, generous player in this fight. So I think to that extent, it is diplomatically clever, perhaps. Time will tell, but it just gives everyone a chance to cool their jets for American allies to look to Trump as somebody they can do business with, out with the pressure cooker environment. Donald Trump, for 90 days at least, won't have a gun to their head, and that will improve the atmosphere for negotiation, if nothing less. But also, I think, Mark, and the markets, don't take my word for it, take the markets' words for it. They think this is a positive move, and that has to help Donald Trump in a situation where increasingly the drumbeat has been getting louder, suggestions that this was a president who didn't know where he was taking this.
Breaking news all round, and you can see just out of a stretch of a magic wand, as I said in one of my early episodes, anything can happen out of a whim. And depending on how you wake up from your bed the next morning, it just comes to show that we should never, ever, ever take for face value whatever politicians say, because we have seen during the past week the disastrous repercussion the policy decisions can have, particularly at one of the largest capital financial markets, which is the US, can have to the global economy at large. And why it's so important that it's upon ourselves, really, as the ultimate sovereign of any nation state out there. I couldn't care less which politician you may be in favour of or not. We should be very, very, very wary and cautious and highly sceptical on taking at face value any policy decision enacted by any nation state or government. Because who is to say that tomorrow, depending on how Trump wakes up the next morning, he may certainly decide, well, let's bring back the tariffs on play now. And we're going to really hit hard out of all of the countries, or any one of the countries, again, out of a whim. So for me, as a lesson drawn from this carnage and destruction on the normal man and woman in the street, hard-earned savings, we have seen trillions upon trillions of dollars worth of investments and equity stocks and crypto assets, including Bitcoin, being wiped out of a whim of any one of these politicians. This is the risk. For me, this is more than a risk, it's an existential risk. And what we should do in order to mitigate that existential risk is to not trust them, to be highly skeptical of whatever they say, be very wary as to their true underlying intentions whenever they make these sort of policy decisions. And above all, bring it upon ourselves to manage our investments, and please don't ever delegate that responsibility to anyone. And I couldn't care less if it's a government or even a fund manager for that reason. But it's fair to say the government has the ultimate power of authority over any one individual and entity. But the same can be argued to corporations, because they are a counterparty risk as well. Centralized crypto exchange platforms, I've made a video on the risk there, and why we are the ultimate guarantor and shield over our investments and nobody else. And to do your homework in seek of those hard assets that you believe are hard. For me, it's Bitcoin. You can't escape from it. Why you should do a bit of homework, and importantly, part some of your wealth, if you have some spare cash floating around, to invest in Bitcoin, and importantly, hold into the long term, because it's the ultimate hedge, in my own humble opinion, against the atrocities and the wrongdoings of any politicians out there. So that is the ultimate message I like to leave you today. Even though there is some relief, sigh of huge relief, certainly from a nation state tariff war perspective, but for the mere mortal retail investor like you and I, we shouldn't take this as a sigh of relief. In fact, it's the opposite. We should take it as a greater sense of impetus and urgency on our part to do everything that we can to be that shield of our own investments, because there isn't any one government now that we can trust. There isn't any one corporation that we can just delegate part of our wealth in order to preserve our capital and help to grow it in times of need. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to hit the like button and to share the video to whom you think might benefit from it. And if you haven't done so already, to please subscribe to my channel, as I regularly publish some interesting videos such as these, anything to do with Bitcoin, blockchain technology, and the future of finance. So until next time.